Good evening, everybody, and welcome to my living room. And it's our night 3, week 2, I think, of these living room music experiences. And it's been a wild ride. You know, we're all shut in, and it seems like we're shut in for a little bit longer than we thought we would be. So everyone's been looking for creative ways to use their days and nights, and I've been really happy to come into yours and just be real, just be sort of kind of in the moment, handling what we're all going through collectively in this world, but also share the only thing I really know how to do, which is make music and share my emotions through my songs and interpret music that I love. And so tonight is a really special night. Take off these glasses. Tonight, or today, actually marks the birthday of my father. He was born in 1908 on April 2nd. So that would make him 112 today. And it always kind of sneaks up on me until somebody mentions it, and I went, oh yeah, right. It's my dad's birthday. And, you know, I'm really bad. Sometimes I forget birthdays all the time. This one's really special. And I have a lot of emotions around my family. And I live in the house that I grew up in. This room is where we spent many nights as a family in front of that fireplace and just studying my homework. And Dad was smoking his cigar, and, you know, Mom was playing the piano. And it's really incredible. I mean, we had this television that we got like 3 snowy stations because we didn't have, you know, cable or internet. Of course, we had like the bunny ears, you know, and we'd always be trying to get, you know, at least get channel 2 so we could watch the Beverly Hillbillies. So I wanted to just pay tribute to my dad and maybe play a few songs from the show that we've been doing in his honor, To Dad With Love, a tribute to Kiki Ebsen, and share some of my memories and some things that I have around the house that remind me of him. And like I said, my dad was born in 1908 in Belleville, Illinois, and his parents were, his father was Danish and his mother was German, and my dad's first language was German, actually, and he moved, his family moved to Orlando, and because his mother had a health condition where she needed to be in a warmer climate. And my grandfather was a dance teacher and taught ballet, taught folk dancing, and my dad was, and his sister, he had 3 sisters, but his sister Vilma really took to the dancing, and they became like superstars in their local community, and they do a lot of dance shows and contests. And actually, when they were about 12, Arthur Murray hired them to play at his little tea time events. And I found out a lot of this about my dad pretty much after he passed away. I mean, when we were growing up, it was the 70s and 80s, and we were on like these 2 different paths. My dad was working pretty much the entire time that I was growing up. He got the Hillbillies when I was about 4, and then he had back-to-back series that lasted 9 years apiece. And so I only knew him on television. I mean, we spent time together, and, you know, he loved to sail, and he obviously loved the country and loved horses and this whole natural life that I enjoy now. But I didn't really get to explore that history of him in New York and on Broadway, and then the early movies when he came to Hollywood to be on MGM, be hired by MGM and do all these incredible movies. And I really didn't know these incredible stories like that he was originally cast as the Tin Man, and that originally actually he was asked to do the role of the Scarecrow. So there was a lot of exploration that happened to me, and it was probably a divine life experience. About 6 years ago, I found, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, I found a trunk in my mother's sewing room, and what had happened is that it was sort of lost. My mother had passed away, and my parents had split up a long time ago, and there was this trunk of memorabilia both of them I think were looking for, but it was underneath like a bunch of sewing materials and things like that. But inside it was this like treasure trove of incredible items. Like I found, well, first of all, just these amazing pictures, and I mean, I've seen Dad in old movies, but there were a lot of things like of him rehearsing, and here's a nice one from My Lucky Star, and here's a cast photo. I don't know if you can see these. This is the cast of Broadway Melody of 1936, with Jamie Stewart and Eleanor Powell, and man, it's just really cool. I mean, these classic dance pictures, like that one here. So I really enjoyed going through these pictures, and then I realized I'd found a little bit more than just a few pictures. I found his original scripts from Broadway shows like Yokel Boy, and these are scripts that are actually typewritten, and this was a big hit in 1936, I believe, with, oh God, my mind is blanking. What's his name? Sergeant Bilko.
Phil Silvers.
Phil Silvers, thank you very much. So I knew Phil Silvers when I met him on the set of the Beverly Hillbillies, but they were already old friends. This is incredible. Maybe I should put my glasses on. This is my dad's equity contract dated October 8th. Oh no, it's the 20th of October. It's 1928, excuse me. This is his first equity contract to be in the Ziegfeld Follies, and it's signed by Flo Ziegfeld. It's pretty cool. I think it's amazing. And then it's like Walt Disney's Corky and White Shadow, just all this like amazing stuff that again you hear about peripherally, but when you get older, you just appreciate your parents in such a different way. I'll have to say I was pretty floored to find his original script for Born to Dance, which is, it's MGM. It has his name written on it, and it also says to please return to the script department, but I think it's a little late for that, so. Here's a Beverly Hillbillies script. Somebody poured their coffee on it, but this script, that blew my mind. The Wizard of Oz is a songbook. Again, with his name written on it, like, no big deal, this is my job. So I started to develop a new appreciation for my dad, because growing up, there was a bit of an age difference, and I was the youngest of 6 girls, and I was really into my life and my rock and roll music, and the more he tried to impress upon me how the importance of the standards and jazz music, the more I said no. I don't know what it is about children and parents, that whole rebellious thing, but I was definitely a rebel. So we sort of, I was raised in the household, and I went on and did my thing, and he wanted me to sing jazz. I said no, so he finally went, whatever. And I went on the road with the group Chicago and started this big touring life, and became, a successful sideman. But I never really felt that he was connecting to what I did. We sort of didn't really understand each other. So now, as I come full circle and I explore my jazz, my jazz voice, and explore so many different kinds of entertainment, and rediscover his career from the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. And I just developed a whole new appreciation and love for not only, what his talent is, but what he tried to teach us, and what he did teach us, and what we did absorb, whether we wanted to or not. So I'm truly my father's daughter, and we miss him a lot. So I'm going to do a song actually called Missing You that he wrote with his writing partner, Zeke Manners. when shadows fall, missing you now. Most of all, I remember the magic of your lips, so tender. I was such a fool to lose this sweet surrender. Missing you the whole day through. Everybody thought of you till you come back to me. Each evening I will be here, missing you. I'm missing you, my dear. Missing you all day through. Everybody thought of you till you come back to me. Each evening I will be missing you. I probably echo a lot of people's emotions on that. I've had a lot of text and posts tonight about how much we miss Buddy Ebsen. And you know, I remember the day he passed away, feeling it was like a double whammy, because not only do you miss the entertainer and those amazing memories of those shows, it's like, you know, we lost our father. And he really, you know, I say he was back, he did, you know, back-to-back shows, and I don't think we had the typical life of family life, well, whatever that is. You know, we definitely were in the spotlight, and every time we went out, we were there was a high focus on us because of our father. But when we were here at the ranch or down in our house in Newport Beach where we were sailing, I mean, it was just us. And especially here at the ranch, like, we didn't, you know, we still have a dirt road. I mean, we drive, we had to get a 4-wheel drive to drive in here. We didn't have central heating. That only came in like 20 years ago. We used a fireplace to stay warm. I still don't have a dishwasher. He just really taught us this unbelievably simple way of being, which I so appreciate. I mean, he chopped his own wood. We built our own fences. We fixed our fences. We maybe hired a few people to help us, you know, build a few sheds or something, but it was just us as a family. And I remember this one time, my dad was so into, like, I mean, we moved out here, I realized, because the neighbors that we had at the time were like Rex Allen and Bob Hope owned a ranch nearby, and Ronald Reagan's ranch was nearby, and it became the state park. And the movie ranches, the studios, 20th Century was here, and Paramount Ranch, you know, was doing movies at the time. So my dad, having done like a bunch of westerns back in the 50s, I remember when Ronald Reagan was running for governor and he was about to campaign, go out the campaign trail. And Ronald Reagan had this big barbecue. I think I was maybe 10 or 11, 9 or 10. Anyway, he wanted, he invited my dad and Rex Allen, Slim Pigs, all the Western guys from Republic Films, plus just all of his acting buddies, to come to his ranch and, you know, give him support as he entered this new, career that he had chosen in politics. So my dad wanted to ride horseback from our ranch to his ranch. It was 2 miles as the crow flies, but it was over this like hellacious terrain with no trail. We're probably a 15-20 minute drive if you go through the canyons, but Dad was like, no, we're gonna ride there, we're gonna make a trail. Now my mother had shown up like in a dress and had her hair done, and she was furious. Anyway, she changed and we got on horseback and we made this trail. He'd given us like, you know, some tools so that we could cut the fences and cut the brush and get there. His beautiful romantic idea of making this grand entrance on horseback was so lovely, but unfortunately, by the time we got there, we were just like a mess. We were torn by branches, and my mother's had aqua netted her hair, and it was all sticking out straight up. And anyway, it was kind of a drag. But I thought it was kind of cool. We get there, they take our horses, we have this great barbecue, and then by the end of the day, my mom realizes, like, there's no way I'm gonna ride those horses back the way I came. So she goes up to my dad at the end of the party and she takes my little brother. Oh, well, my little brother was on the ride too. He wasn't quite as into the horses as I was. So she takes my brother's hand and says, I'm taking our son and I'm getting a taxi. And she did. And my dad and I rode 2 horses home and we led the other 2. And he was a little bit disheartened, unfortunately. So it was a very silent ride, a very dark ride, and a bit chilly. But it still is such a fond memory. As well as this one here. I'll be here all night if I start telling you every memory I have about my dad. But he wrote these children's stories. He would sing us to bed with his guitar, and he had like hundreds of them. My favorite part of the day was when he would like take us in a bed, and then pull out the guitar and start singing. This one here, if you can see it, it's called Angelica. And it's sort of a story that he wrote. I think he combined all of his 6 girls into one to create this little girl, Angelica. And I love it. It has this like red chewed up vinyl 45 that we must have played just to get the ground. And this cute little girl, Angelica, who's a little angel, but she's actually a monster. So every time we were sort of in the doghouse, I think, or one of us did something wrong, he'd probably sing us Angelica to try and help us, you know, find our way back to a good path. All right, I'm going to sing a little bit of it. Can you see this? Can you see the lyrics? Let me put that here. Let's see. Who put the jam on the pussycat's tail? Who put the grease on the banister rail? Who put cement in the scrubbing up pail? Who? Angelica. Who broke the milk bottle out on the side? Who squeezed the goldfish until they weren't alive? None of this is familiar to me. Absolutely nothing. Who's gonna make every one of us say, this little girl was an angel today? Who? Angelica. Who helped her mom tidy up every room, chased out the dirt with her very own broom, dusted a vase that went down and went boom? Who? Angelica. Whoops, that may have been me. who helped her dad paint the garden fence red, climbed up a step ladder over her head, then missed the fence, painted Daddy instead. Oops, I'm sorry, Daddy. Who? Angelica. When all of the things she tried to do went wrong, she started crying. But Angelica had purred. That's her cat. And the words Angelica heard were, "You must keep on trying. So who's gonna try very hard to be good? Do all the things that a little girl should. Who'll be the angel we all know she would? That's lightly deplorable, strictly adorable. Who? Doom, doom, doom. Angelica." Now, if that isn't the most perfect looking child, she's got a little kitty on her bed, little red-headed girl with wings and a halo, and mom and dad looking through the door. That is such a 60s dream, right? Anyway, I thought it was cute. I thought I'd share that with you. We heard that a lot.
I think you lost the stream for a second.
Oh, really?
It's back, but yeah.
Oh, did you miss all that? I heard we just lost the stream. No?
It was just gone for a second.
Oh, okay. Good.
I think they got most of it.
Good. All right, I'm going to play another song. How are you guys doing? I don't have the comments up. So.
They're all saying that they lost it for a second. But it's back now.
We're back. We are totally winging it. I have no script. This is truly unscripted. So I'm going to do a song that from the movie Breakfast at Tiffany's. And my dad played Doc Golightly in Breakfast at Tiffany. It's the man that was married to Holly Golightly or Audrey Hepburn. My dad was so in awe of Audrey Hepburn. He has a great book, my dad, called The Other Side of Oz, where he talks about a lot of his talks about his career and his history, and it's a great, great read if you ever get a chance to pick it up, The Other Side of Oz, and where he talks about Audrey Hepburn. He said she had a free-flowing instinct that filled the cracks of his own deficiencies. I thought that was so beautifully said. And that movie, my dad, it was really his breakout. To me, it was the first time I ever saw him, as an actor. We'd seen the Hillbillies, we'd seen the Davy Crockett, and those were more kind of, I don't know, like comedy or more characters, based on, they didn't seem as like deep as that particular role, especially because he cries. His eyes tear up in that movie when he basically comes back in the middle and he tries to get Holly Golightly to go home with him after she's left him to go to New York City to be with George Papard. And the look on his face, if you've ever seen Breakfast at Tiffany's, or if you don't remember that part, go play it, because he tears up when she's like, "I can't go back. I'm sorry. I'm a wild thing. You made a mistake. To fall in love. Don't fall in love with a wild thing. They'll run off and break your heart. They'll run off to the highest tree until they're in the moon." And it was so profound on me because I was only 6 years old, and actually it was quite sad. But I'm going to sing this song, Moon River. stream stayed on?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. All right, I'm gonna, thought it'd be fun to play, to show you a couple of, like a video of, like some of my favorite dance routines that he did. And we were trying to, no, can you hear me if I'm not on the microphone?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Something's a pain in the butt. I picked out some things that I thought would be fun to play, and the first one is from a movie called Banjo on My Knee, and from 1936 with Joel McCrea and Barbara Stanwyck and Walter Brennan. And to me, this is probably not his best known dance routine, which I'll play later, but it is totally, it's totally him. It is the most original, wonderful example of why people love the way Buddy Ebsen dances. So I hope you can see this. We're taking a chance with this live stream, hoping that we can do this all at the same time. So here we go.
Sonny, you're elected. Come on.
Man was on the shanty boat, the fish were swimming by. A great big catfish came along, right in his eye. Oh, let it rain, let it pour, nothing bothers me. 'Cause I go right on singing with a banjo on my knee. Everybody join in the chorus. It really was a pity what became of Susie Gray. Her pappy had a shooter 'cause she fell and broke her leg. Oh, let it rain, let it pour, nothing bothers me. 'Cause I go right on singing with a banjo on my knee. A cow stood on the railroad track, the train was coming fast. The train got off the railroad track to let the cow go past. Oh, let it rain, let it pour, nothing bothers me. 'Cause I go right on singing with a banjo on my knee.
I love that one. That's amazing. Uh-oh. Haven't backed this computer up for 50 days.
Bad.
You know, just gonna do it. There's a song that was on that movie, and actually it was a song that my dad taught me how to play when I was a little girl. It was the St. Louis Blues. This is how he taught me. And I loved that. It was such a tender moment. He would teach me like a little part at a time. And when he'd come home from work, I'd go, Dad, look. I mean, I was very young. And so I played it more like. No, I got pretty good on it. But it was my favorite thing. It was another little fond moment that I had with him. And I recorded it later on a record called Scarecrow Sessions. So I'm going to do my best to play it for you. I hate to see that evening sun That was fun. We have so much fun doing this show, To Dad With Love. I have an amazing band that plays with me. Jeff Colella plays piano, and Danny Young and Kendall Kay. And I've had great woodwind players like Kim Richmond. And it's just phenomenal. It really is a cool show. And I hope we get to do it again. And I hope everyone here will come and see it, To Dad With Love. And I have a whole website about it. It's buddyebsentribute.com. You can also find it if you go to kikiebsen.com. But it's hard to produce your own. It's hard to produce a show in any way, shape, or form, but especially something theatrical. And our run last year that we did last fall was just had every review was amazing, and I just did it out of a pure love for my dad and wanting to. I just didn't really know. I, again, followed one of those crazy voices that in my head and said, you got to make a jazz record. You never did that. Now your dad's gone, and, you got to make that record. So I did. I made Scarecrow Sessions, and then from that, developed a cabaret show where I talked about these stories that I tell you now. And then that turned into a theatrical multimedia show with my brother Dusty, who put together these gorgeous images and all this video that I'm trying to show you now. It's all done beautifully, just in a beautiful sequence. We have this special character that comes out as my father, a younger character, and we interact. And it's really profound because, like I said, kind of alluded to, my father and I, we weren't really on the same track growing up. As I think that just happens. I think my story is not original, but what I think I was able to do, because we actually had words, about, he had words about the direction of my life, and I didn't want to be told what to do, and so we kind of parted ways for a little while, and that was sad because I really wasn't involved in his life after my parents divorced, very little, maybe once a year, and so we missed a lot of years where we could have had really cool conversations, and our egos just got in the way, Does that sound familiar? Yeah. So when he was 95, we were at his house for his birthday, and he was starting to. We didn't really notice, but he'd been starting to have a series of strokes, and eventually, like a few weeks later, it was enough for him to go in the hospital, and he had pneumonia. And anyway, while that was happening, once I found he had these strokes, I decided to go there, and my intention was to connect with him, and I didn't know how that was going to go down, because he wasn't really able to speak too much, but I felt there was this thing between us that we needed to break through, because I knew he was going to pass away pretty soon, and I didn't want there to be that, the things that weren't said. So I went, Steve and I went over, and his wife Dorothy was lovely. She invited us in to spend as much time as we could with him, and he would sit and we'd hold hands and, wouldn't talk about anything. But then my heart was beating so fast because I wanted to say something. I didn't know what that was going to be. And I finally just got on my knees and looked in his eyes. Those blue, unbelievably blue eyes, and I said, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for my beautiful life. Thank you. Does anyone ever thank their parents for their life? It's profound, and all the opportunities that we had and I took for granted, and I didn't realize, I just took for granted. Anyway, from that point on, my life completely changed. And even though it would take another, a decade to realize, my record came out, and this whole new affection for not only myself, because you'll be amazed what the word thank you does to yourself, but for my family and for my dad, and the energy that surrounds everything involving my father. Because in life, your parents, you want their approval, and they're always have some critique about something. But in this world that I live in with my parents, everything is beautiful. And And I mean, if it's a critique, it's more of a guidance. Like I'll find things that I'm looking for that I need, and I always have something of my parents with me when I perform. Like this is my mother's bracelet, and I brought my dad's. Well, there's tons of stuff of my dad's here, but this is a picture. Did I already show this? This is a picture of my dad when he was like 3 years old. This portrait. I love it. I think it's really precious. So anyway. One of the songs I put on Scarecrow Sessions, which is not in our show because it really had nothing to do with his career, but it's one of his favorites. It's one of his favorite songs. So I pulled it out. I haven't played it for years, but I dusted it off, and I'm going to play it in his honor for his birthday. It's called Laura. Is a face in the misty light, footsteps that you hear down the hall, a face that floats on what is the lyric? On a misty night. I'm gonna have to do this again. A faith that floats on a misty night. A faith that floats on a misty night. Okay, one more time. Sorry. Like I said, haven't done it for a while. Laura is a face in the misty light. Laura is a face in the misty light. Footsteps that you hear down the hall. The laugh that floats on a summer night that you can never quite recall. And you see Laura on a train that is passing through. Those eyes are familiar, they seem. She gave her very first kiss to you. That was Laura, but she's only a dream. So I'm going to do one more little video here. My dad, oh, this is a great video. Yeah, so actually this letter here, I found a bunch of my dad's letters. And this one actually talks about rehearsing, this is back in the 30s, talks about rehearsing with Shirley Temple for this new movie that they're doing called Captain January. And it's so amazing to actually read these words and have him say, I'm kind of busy with, they called her La Temple, little La Temple, getting a number ready, or rather for us, because he actually choreographed that dance. She's an amazing child. I mean, every bit as brilliant off stage as she is on. She's well behaved, surprisingly unspoiled, but definitely a little clip. I think that probably means she was a little firecracker. She likes her mother, likes jokes, and her rabbits. Her rabbits started out as a pair, which were given to her by some admirer, and now number 97, much to her mother's disgust. Shirley tells me they have so many, they have to keep them in separate batches. Well, I hope so. Like on 9,700. The mom is in one and the pop is in the other. And although the rabbits, something about she won't let them kill any, for God's sake, or get rid of them. But instead, she insists they buy a farm and just let them run around. Anyway, I just love these little things. So there's a lot of these little letters that he writes back to his parents talking about these incredible shows that are now classics. Anyway, I'm going to play yet another classic dance routine. I'm going to show it on this video that you can enjoy. And it's called the Codfish Ball.
There's your music star. Let's get going. Come on. I won't start. Here.
Next Friday night, you're all invited to dance from 8 to 5. All the fishes still alive are having a ball. It's summer fair, they'll all be there from the herring to the whale. They'll turn out to shake a scale in Neptune's hall. Come along and follow me to the bottom of the sea. We'll join in the jamboree at the Codfish Ball. Monsters dancing in a row, shuffle up to Buffalo. Jellyfish sway to and fro at the Codfish Ball. Sim and Hattie lead the eel through an Irish reel. The catfish is a dancing man, but he can't like the sardine can. There's drumming left and right, many looking what a night. There won't be a hook in sight at the Codfish Ball. Come along and follow me to the bottom of the sea. We'll join in the jamboree at the Codfish Ball. Lobsters dancing in a row, shuffle up to Buffalo. Jellyfish sway to and fro at the Codfish Ball. Sim and Hattie lead the eel through an Irish reel. The catfish is a dancing man, but he can't like the sardine can. Struggling left and right, Mindy's looking what a night. There won't be a look inside at the Codfish Ball.
Love that. So again, it's one of those marvelous, absolutely marvelous clips of Dad dancing, and I have so many, and I realized my producer just told me that we are at the hour mark, which we've gone way long. There's so much I could talk about and show and share, and I'll just post a bunch of links on after the show tonight. This is a big happy birthday to my dad, and clearly it's emotional for me. So I'm happy and profoundly grateful to be able to be in the situation where I'm actually sitting here talking to you about his life and able to play some music. So I'm going to end the night with a song from The Wizard of Oz. My father was cast, as a lot of you know, as the Tin Man, but he became deathly ill from the makeup because what they used was real aluminum powder, and they dusted his face, and the repeated dusting caused, he inhaled so much aluminum that it coated the inside of his lungs, and he couldn't get oxygen to his blood. He went in the hospital. It took him a long time to recover, and he had a physical and he had a nervous breakdown. The doctors said that, but it was a breakdown of his nervous system, and I don't think he ever really got over that experience. We never heard that story growing up. I never did, and it was sort of this rumor when I was around 18 that there was footage of my dad in The Wizard of Oz, and I thought, well, that's crazy. We've been watching that show for years, and he never mentioned it, but it was true. And he just was a quiet guy. He didn't like to. And one thing he didn't do was he didn't complain, and that's probably the Danish in him. I know we're not complainers. We're stoic, and everything's fine. Okay, I'm fine. So don't even ask. Right. So I'm going to do the song. If I Only Had a Brain, and again, thank you for tuning in. And we'll do it again tomorrow night. All right? Stay safe, everybody. Like a wild away the hours, conferring with the flowers, consulting with the rain. And my head I'd be scratching while my thoughts were busy hatching if I only had a rain. I'd revel in a riddle, any individual, in trouble or in pain. With the thoughts I'd be thinking Just a nothing, my head all full of stuffing, my heart all